Hello, I'm Patrick Pallas on behalf of the National Conference of Bar Presidents, and I'm checking in today with Christy Crow, who is the president of the Alabama State Bar. Christy, welcome, and thank you for taking a few minutes to chat with me about what's happening in Alabama and how you as a bar leader are dealing with this COVID-19 crisis. Let me just start here and ask you, how are you doing? How are you handling all this?
Well, thanks, Patrick. And let me start by thanking you and the National Conference of Bar Presidents for putting this together. I know we're all in uncharted territories and we don't really know what the best next step is. And so if we can find out what other folks are doing, it always is helpful. And thankfully, I'm healthy and fine, and my family and my firm, we're all healthy and fine. The pandemic has not hit the state of Alabama as severely as it's hit other states yet. But we're all waiting for the other shoe to drop and just trying to do everything we can to prepare and to learn from our brothers and sisters in other states so that we can be the best prepared as anybody can be during these difficult times.
Well, you're exactly right. It's sharing what's working and what's not among bar leaders, so that rather than each of us recreating the wheel, we can learn from each other with what's working and what's not. And so let me, go down that road with you. Tell me some of the things that you're doing in Alabama, some of the things you've pushed out as bar president that are working for you.
Well, Patrick, we decided early on that communication was the key to helping our members make it through this pandemic. We can't do anything to control the pandemic itself, but we can communicate with our members. And so we have tried to do everything we can to provide as much information about what the bar is doing, what's going on in the state, and how members can navigate these uncharted waters successfully to help our members get through this. And so communication is where we've been focusing. And one of the things that we decided to do was a series of webinars on Facebook Live so that we could talk about issues that were relevant to the pandemic and unique to the pandemic.
I love that whole idea of being fluid and creating a way to communicate with, how many lawyers are there in Alabama?
We have 18,000 members.
18,000. What a great way to communicate with 18,000 members. Give me a sense for the kind of programs you've pushed out. You said you're doing 2 a week?
We are. So let me back up a minute and brag on our great communications department. One of the things I wanted to do as president was tell the stories of lawyers. And so we have a communications director who came up with the idea of doing Facebook Live interviews with lawyers and talking about things that they do outside of the courtroom. And so we started in the fall doing this about once a week or once every other week. I would interview a lawyer about something they did not related to the legal field. So we already had this platform set up. And when this pandemic hit, we decided to use the platform we had been using to tell the stories of lawyers to help communicate with our lawyers. So for example, the first webinar we did, we talked about the Unemployment Family Medical Leave Act changes that had occurred the week before. We had a lawyer from Tuscaloosa who is an employment lawyer and knew a lot about that come and talk to us. It's on Facebook Live, so people can ask questions as I'm interviewing him, and he's talking about the different issues that he's seeing and the changes that this law brought about. People can ask questions and interact with him. We have lawyers and non-lawyers watching this because this obviously doesn't just affect lawyers. And so that was the first one we did. The second one, on that Thursday, we talked about working remotely. We had an attorney who has worked remotely for a number of years, so she's already gotten over the learning curve of what we're all doing now about learning how to use different websites and different programs to work remotely. And then earlier this week, we talked about business interruption insurance, because that's a big issue with lawyers and their clients, is how do you navigate through the business interruption insurance issues that we're all seeing.
I love that you pick these topics that, you've obviously been careful at identifying issues that your practicing lawyers and members of your community need help with. What do you have planned? I know you have a number of new webinars coming up in the following weeks. What are those topics?
Well, I pick the topics by the kinds of things that people will ask me in the grocery store that I don't know the answer to because I don't practice in those areas.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things I think, well, what am I going to get asked by a local business person that I'm not going to know the answer to? So that's how we're picking the topics. There's no rhyme or reason, just trying to find the most relevant things. And one thing that we are really trying to remind folks about is that the courts in Alabama are open. Even though we have closed the courthouses to the public, our courts are still open. So today we're going to talk to the president of the Circuit Judges Association and the District Judges Association to talk about how the judges are keeping the courts open and what they're doing in order to make sure there's access to justice for all of the members of the bar and for all of our clients and the public. Then next week, we are going to talk about the SBA loans that are being rolled out last week and this week and next week. So we have someone who studied all that does banking law, that will talk about the SBA loans, how you apply, what the criteria are, and why lawyers should be paying attention to this, because they are business people. So lawyers should be applying for these loans as well as knowing what to do for their clients. And then after that, next Thursday, we're going to talk to our Lawyers Assistance Program Director about health and wellness. This is a very stressful time for everyone. And so he's going to offer us some tips on how to manage your stress in the healthiest way possible, both physically and mentally.
Such great topics. I love
Yeah.
that you've created these. Let me ask you this. For those bar presidents who are used to the, maybe at this point, old-fashioned way of creating a committee, identifying topics, reaching out to speakers a month in advance, writing out a script, practicing beforehand, what do you have to say to them? Some tips that you might have learned along the way to do these things, I mean, instantly, right away, to find the efficiency and to get the information out immediately?
I guess the first tip I would have is don't take yourself too seriously. You're going to make a mistake when you're doing something on Facebook Live, and you're going to stumble over your words. But the most important thing you're doing is you are showing your members that it is more important to get the message out there and the information than it is to get it out there perfectly. We are in a pandemic. Things are moving faster than any of us can ever imagine 2 months ago they would be moving. So get the information out there and use the platforms that are already there. Facebook has, I don't know how many millions of users. So that's a great platform that's already there. There are other platforms through social media that you can use. And then the great thing about the Facebook videos is that you can get a link to those and put them on your website. And therefore, if someone's not on Facebook, they can still watch the videos afterwards and get the information, because people are craving information right now and trying to find out as much as they can about the programs that are available.
And for bar leaders who may want to find your links and copy your programs or post your programs on their bar website, where do they find these webinars you've been producing?
So our Facebook page is the Alabama State Bar Facebook page, and that's where you can watch them live and ask questions as we have the webinars. Also, we have links to those on our website, which is alabar.org, and you can find the webinars there as well.
And then last piece of this, there may be some bar presidents who maybe are concerned about the technology or maybe about the cost, like we don't have a paid Zoom subscription, or I don't really use Facebook. What do you have to say to people who are concerned that there might be barriers in the technology to follow in your footsteps?
Well, we use Blue Jeans and had an unpaid Blue Jeans subscription until just about a week ago, when we were trying to do some bar commissioner informational sessions, and we needed more than the 40 or 50 people you can put on an unpaid subscription with Blue Jeans. And I think Zoom, you can have an unpaid subscription as well that's up to a certain number of minutes. So I would suggest doing it. I mean, even if you have to pay for the subscription, it's not very expensive, but if you can use the free version of many of these subscription video conference services, and there's somebody you know that can figure out how to get you on Facebook Live with those, and you're going to make mistakes, but walk through the mistakes, live through the mistakes, and laugh about them, and then get the information out to your members, because that's what people are craving right now.
And what kind of advice do you have as we wrap up today to other bar presidents about how you've handled this, and maybe some thoughts about how they can handle this that might make this a little easier?
don't know if anything is going to make this easy, but what makes it easier for me is thinking about that fact that I can help the members of the Alabama State Bar by being a leader during difficult times. And so leadership is not always easy, and it's certainly not always clean, but it can make a difference. And I think that we're reaching people and meeting the needs that they have. And if you can do that, you're going to be a great leader.
Yeah, I love that advice. Christy, if people want to reach out to you, if maybe they want to talk about what you did or share some ideas, where can they find you?
So it's Christy Crow. I am in Union Springs, Alabama. It's the field trial capital of the world, but that's all we're known for. And my email address is ccrow@jinkslaw.com. That's ccrow@jinkslaw.com. And you can always reach me by that email, or you can reach me at 334-738-4225, which is our number at the office. And they can get you through to my cell phone if I'm not here.
Christy, thank you for taking time to chat with us and share your experiences. I'm hoping to continue this dialogue with presidents across the country, along with other members of the National Council of Bar Presidents, as we create this catalog of information from bar presidents like you. And I very much appreciate you taking time today and sharing what's working and what's not. And thank you for your leadership in being the president that you are. Appreciate it very much. Be safe out there, okay?
Thanks, Patrick. Wash your hands and be safe.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.